Greetings and salutations. It is Summer Olympic version here of Query and Schultz on ISC Sports Network, the incredibly, creatively, and appropriately named Query and Schultz program. I'm Jake Query. That's Derek Schultz. It is show number 45. No-brainer, Derek. No-brainer. Biggest no-brainer of all of any number we've done.
One of the greatest pitchers of all time, Bob Gibson. The Bob Gibson episode.
I love Bob Gibson. Matter of fact, I read a book on Bob Gibson in fourth grade at Allisonville Elementary School. They had a paperback book in the library called From Ghetto to Glory, and it was the biography of Bob Gibson. Bob Gibson is like the only throwback retro jersey I've ever purchased, but not
So
Bob
it's
Gibson.
not Bob Gibson.
It's not Bob Gibson.
How about beloved Pacers fan favorite Rick Smits, the Dunkin' Dutchman, rock number 45?
He did. As a matter of fact, do you know what number he started with? No, I'm sorry. He started with 45. No, I'm sorry. He started with a different number and then switched to 45. What number did he start with?
I have no idea. I never knew that he started with a different number. As a rookie, you mean?
He started with a number and then switched to 45 because 45 was already taken by Chuck Person when he came into the league. And then once Chuck Person was moved, he switched to 45.
Oh, okay.
But what number did he start with? Which is the same number that another Pacer started with this number and also himself switched while a Pacer.
24.
That is correct, 24.
Yeah. I just thought of Paul George.
He was 24 as a rookie. Now, but no, not Rick
24 is
Smits.
a weird number for a 7'4" guy.
I know. Well, I guess because 45 was taken by none other than
Yeah, we have the rifleman right there.
Chuck Person.
Then Jake, I have no idea who. Carl Pavano wore number 45.
No.
I can think of a lot of crappy players who wore number 45.
There's a player in IU basketball lore whose nickname incorporates his number, which was 45.
No idea.
Brian Sloan, screen 45. Screen 45 it is. You are screening show 45. This is screen 45 version of Query and Schultz. Brian Sloan, the great screen. Dick Vitale, freeze it. Watch it right there. Freeze it. Look at the way he gets Jay Edwards open. Freeze it.
Wait, you're serious?
As a heart attack, and I can say that because I've had one.
How many Cy Young awards did he win?
It doesn't matter.
How many Hall of Fames is he in?
Bob Gibson, okay. Bob Gibson, Derek, Omaha, Nebraska.
Yep.
You know what Bob Gibson's dream was when he was in high school?
No idea.
To be a college basketball player at Indiana University. Didn't do it. Brian Sloan did. Screen 45.
See, as much as you talk about the people on Pigs and all the old guys with Indiana, now we're gonna name our show after like a bit player at IU as opposed to
Greg
one
Rakestraw,
of the 20-ish greatest baseball players, regardless of position, probably all time.
Derek, you got to localize it.
It is local. We have a lot of Cardinals fans that watch this show.
Okay.
Even though I can't stand the Cardinals or their
Right.
fans. Hi to you guys watching. This should be the Bob Gibson episode. The fact that you skipped over Rick Smits for Brian Sloan is insulting. Like, if you were going to go fan favorite-wise, it should be Rick. He certainly has a higher Q rating than Brian Sloan.
Is Rakestraw still here? Because Rakestraw said he thought 45 was a no-brainer. And he's like, I have somebody in mind for 45.
Yeah, he probably thought Smits.
I want to know who.
Chuck Person.
Okay, or Person. Person's a better pick.
What about
Person's
Brian
a better
Sloan?
pick.
Screen 45.
No one thinks of Brian Sloan. He's just being nice. He's
Derek,
just being nice. 'Cause Rake's a nice
his
guy.
name is his number is part of his name. Screen 45. I would think
All right,
Brian.
just
Listen,
do whatever you want to do with it.
Brian Sloan was known in Indiana. His father, Jerry Sloan. Brian Sloan is a great player out of Illinois. Comes to Indiana.
Far more
and then
famous, his father.
He fair. Brian Sloan, a doctor now in the Indianapolis area, but Brian Sloan was the key piece in that '89 Indiana team because he was willing to do the behind the scenes, no glory, dirty work that allowed the stars to shine. Sure. I would think you could relate.
He was the key player when you were 15.
I would think you could relate to Brian Sloan.
In this equation, you're Brian Sloan and I'm Jay Edwards. So I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Sure.
I'm making all the shots. I'm
Sure.
getting all the girls. Like that's the person in this chair here.
Okay.
We have so much stuff to get to because we've been gone for what feels
You've
like
been gone.
8
I've
months.
been here. I've been sitting right here.
We have not had a
shaved.
show.
I've been sitting here. I said I wasn't going to shave until you came back. Actually, that's not true. I
We've
shaved
not
like
had a
2
show
days
in
ago.
2 weeks. And I didn't really think we'd be missing much. I knew that we'd miss, unfortunately, the completion of the NBA Finals. But, wow, what a completion. The last time when we sat in these chairs 2 weeks ago, I was like, Milwaukee might get one. I really thought that Phoenix was going to win that series in like 5 games. And they didn't win another game.
I know.
Milwaukee and Giannis took over. So you have the Bucks winning the NBA championship, the Olympics starting, the Cleveland Indians become the Cleveland Guardians.
Right.
This Oklahoma-Texas bombshell.
Yep.
With them potentially moving to the SEC,
Now,
which looks like it's all systems go, and conference realignment potentially following again.
Second time that we have done a show where conference realignment was in discussion.
Yeah, isn't it weird to think that was 10 years ago? Or almost, I guess it was 2012, but almost 10 years ago when we last talked about it.
Let's begin with the NBA Finals since that was the furthest back, right?
Okay.
To me, what's interesting is you look at right now the NBA and the things about the NBA that have turned off some people, which I don't necessarily buy into, but people will say, well, I just get tired of these crybabies jumping ship and the superstar teams and the power teams, the super teams. And then you have Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, I did find an interesting article. When he first was coming out of Greece, his name was spelled A-D-E-T as Antetokounmpo. And now it's like this weird A-N-T-N-T-E or what. In the Greek alphabet, to get the D sound, it's like an A-N-T spelling. I'm just telling you what,
Okay.
So that's why it's like way too. I don't know why they just didn't keep it as Antetokounmpo. But so he is obviously Nigerian. He is not. He was born in Greece, but his parents are Nigerian. And when they moved to Greece, they brought with them the name A-D, and then they changed the spelling to make it Greek, thus why it is so incredibly long and why everybody just calls him Giannis. Just thought I'd go over
okay.
because we talked about when he first came in the league, remember, it was so difficult to say his name.
Yeah.
But at any rate, at a time when the NBA probably most desperately needs a relatable star, because one thing about the NBA that I think people would tell you is that they, when Magic and Larry Bird was such a great rivalry, Derek, the thing that made it such a great rivalry, aside from the on-the-court play, was you had both bases covered in terms of relatability. You had like the blue-collar, rural white guy. You had a tall, personable, very outgoing, huge smile, African-American. So all people had somebody they could relate to and gravitate towards. Then Jordan, in today's league, you have a lot of players that people say, I just can't relate to that guy. He makes $50 million a year, and yet he wants to go play with other guys that are making $50 million. I just can't relate to that. And here's a guy in Giannis who's an unbelievable player, but he wins the NBA title, and the next day he's driving through the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A, putting it on live video with the trophy and having people come and take selfies with them. And he drinks half Sprite, half lemonade, and he says please and thank you while he's at the drive-thru, and he's filming it all. It literally is, for the NBA, this is too good to be true, is it not? The only thing missing, of course, being that, say he can't play on the Olympic team for the United States because he's not American.
Yeah.
But he didn't grow up in the AAU system, in the AAU culture of jumping teams and playing for 5 teams in one summer. So I think that has a lot to do with where he's like, look, Milwaukee believed in me, so now I've got to believe in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I don't know if relatable is the word that I would use, because it's hard to relate to somebody who's 7 feet tall making $228 million. You know what I mean?
And he didn't grow up here. I mean, that's fair.
I've never felt like NBA players were relatable. Like Scott Brooks was relatable to me. Spud Webb maybe was relatable to me. But, what I would say, Jake, to piggyback on your point, he's genuine. You know what I mean?
That's probably a better word.
He is who you see. And I think sometimes with the NBA superstars, you don't get that genuine feel from them. Like they're putting on a show. They're trying to be. Paul George is a great example, right? He was trying to be somebody who he wasn't. And behind the scenes, some other stuff was going on, and then in front of the cameras he was a certain way,
right?
And you realize, wait a minute, he's not being fully truthful, and people want for their stars to be genuine. But I think the gesture of it being a supermax guy who decided, yeah, you know what, I do want to stay here, and I do want to try to make this happen and bring a championship to a city like Milwaukee, and what it means for small market franchises. Jake, part of the reason that the NFL is so popular is that every single fan of every team has hope that their team could win a championship.
Right.
Every single one, all 32. In the NBA, you don't have that. You could love the Pacers and you could pray for a championship, but deep down, you're not thinking to yourself, okay, this is realistic for my franchise. Now, yeah, you need a million things to happen, and Milwaukee had a million things happen, for this championship to take place, but at least there's that glimmer of hope that it's there.
Derek. What's interesting is this, because I see a lot of people say this. See, if you draft the right way, as a small market team, you can do it. Giannis was the only player in the NBA Finals to score a point that was drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
Okay? And he was drafted 15th.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, I mean, look at the muscle he has on it. You know, he was 19 when they drafted him. He developed before their very eyes, right? So they struck gold there.
And Middleton, contrary to popular belief, was actually a second-round cast-off from Detroit after 1 year.
Correct. So yes, they had to be smart in assembling their team, and they had to be aggressive. I mean, when they made moves to get Drew Holiday, that was questioned at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously it paid off. But it helps to have a 6'11" guy that grows 2 inches after you draft him and develops muscle, and he hasn't even developed a mid-range game yet. So once he develops mid-range, I mean, forget about it, right? Because so those things help. I just think it is fascinating to me that for all of the talk that we do about this player, he's been the number one player since he was 15 and Rivals top 100, and then he went to Kentucky, and then he went to Kansas, and then he went to North Carolina, and then he was a lottery pick, and then here comes this guy from Greece that nobody had heard of the night he was drafted. It was the biggest Cinderella story of his draft night was the fact that David Stern knew how to say his name. Because everybody's like, who?
Yeah.
You know, and then you've got, obviously Luka, the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. The current NBA MVP. And that parlays into, Derek, what we'll talk about, I'm sure, later in the program, and that is the international play and the game of basketball and where the United States ranks. And I think AAU basketball is the one responsible for this balancing act.
I think that we're viewing this in a different prism. Of course, people in Indianapolis are thrilled for the Bucks. Right. Now, I don't know if people in LA are, or New York, or some of these other places where they're thinking Bucks, Suns, finals, what? But I think just from I find this, I'll borrow your word again, relatable. I find this result to be really relatable to fans here and something that we could really applaud because of who the Bucks are and how they got here. And yeah, you need a million things to happen. You need Giannis to fall in your lap. You need Kevin Durant's foot to be 1 inch too large.
Right.
You need a myriad of injuries to all happen in front of you, right? Because you need luck. As much as we want to make it about, it's will and resolve and clutchness. No, man, at the end of the day, 90% of it is just luck and timing and circumstance.
Well, I mean, Derek, look at the Indianapolis 500. It's a 500-mile race, right? How many guys that won the Indianapolis 500, when you look in their particular year, were they clearly the best driver-car combo in the race?
And that's not to say that they've all been deserving and very talented winners outside of maybe a small handful of guys where you'd say, yeah, really? He won the race? But you needed luck, timing, and circumstance to win. Every single one of those guys needed that.
I'm wearing this shirt just for you today.
You're a little underdressed.
I'm underdressed?
Yeah, a little bit. This is our return from vacation show. So.
This underdressed shirt, by the way, is one of many that you could find at the shop on Broad Ripple Avenue, 920. It used to be 920 Broad Ripple Avenue, now right next door, or Clay Terrace, or theshopindy.com, including name, image, likeness, and that includes players from Purdue, players from Indiana. Trace Jackson Davis has a shirt. Anthrop at Purdue has a shirt. And more to come with that from The Shop Indy, including this fabulous Of the Clowns for people like Derek who love clowns.
That is going to be a topic coming up a little bit later on.
What's that?
In fact, the clowns just in general and team name changes after what we saw in Cleveland. But we've got a ton of other things to get to. Next, we'll start with the NFL. Training camp is beginning for the Colts.
Big
but
news
also
there.
The vaccine mandates and everything swirling around that. Plus, just breaking news as we're beginning to record this involving the Colts and head coach Frank Reich when it comes to COVID-19.
Big news.
So we'll talk about all of that. Just getting started. A
Screen
return
45 show.
From vacation edition, a Bob Gibson edition / Rick Smits edition / Chuck Person edition. Those are the three acceptable names.
We're lowering the mound.
The three acceptable names that I'll take. Of Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
This was the mound
Brian
before Bob
Sloan.
Gibson. That's the mound after Bob Gibson.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, We prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Your life is on the go. Now your viewing habits can be on the go. With the ISC Sports Network app, your team is at your fingertips. You can download years' worth of content from the ISC Sports Network library. High school, college, special events, weekly and monthly shows, wherever you find your favorite app. And you can always find out more information at iscsportsnetwork.com.
Shot at the buzzer. Got it! She got it! Oh my goodness, what a shot!
Brady, hello! Did it again. Hello! Made the highlight reel again. That goes to Mentor and all kinds of room to run. Down the middle of the field, and he will not be touched. Jackson, hello! There we go.
Stokes throws it, caught, ball ricochets.
Wow.
A huge hit.
Wow.
This has been an amazing display of goal scoring.
Welcome back. It's Corey and Schultz here on ISC Sports Network. I'm Derek Schultz. The other host of this show is taking a potty break.
Nope,
This
I'm back.
portion of the program brought to you by Bailey & Wood Financial Group, who I'm sure are thrilled in the professional organization of this program that somebody can be hustling back from a bathroom break.
I said,
You know,
run
the,
an
show,
extra
the show's
spot.
90 minutes long.
I actually said, what's that?
The show's 90 minutes long. Like, you
No,
have
it's
the bladder
never
of
been
a
90 minutes.
3-year-old.
Derek, I'm 48 years old. I'll be 49 in like 6 weeks.
Okay.
Now, there have been a few areas where you've decided to throw stones, and then you reach the, like, for example, you know, medically speaking, when you were like 30, you wanted to be 40, clearly, because you're the only person I know that was getting, for example, a prostate exam every 6 months when you were 30.
That's involuntary, and I wish you wouldn't bring that up on every episode. You know, it's not really relevant to our discussion.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So now I'm almost 49, and I have to take like 17 pills a day. So I've got to drink a lot of liquids. Just
You could have gone to the bathroom before the show, man.
I'm very
That was
healthy.
the first break.
I'm very
so
healthy.
clearly 20 minutes ago when we started,
Yeah,
you still
I
had
didn't
to
have to go to the bathroom then.
Okay, well. Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood Financial Group. 5-star customer service with Mike Wood and his team. You could check out any of their Indiana branch locations. How many are they up to now? 13 of them? BAWFG.com and 855-350-HOME. Their golf outing's coming up August 12th. I committed you for that. Have we talked about that?
I think. What day
Okay.
of the week is that?
It's a Thursday.
Okay.
I committed you for that. So we're going to show up. We're not going to golf. We're just going to, I don't know. They might have an autograph table for us. I'm not sure. For us to sign.
Okay. BAWFG.com, right?
You got it. Yep.
Okay.
Let's talk NFL. Frank Reich, we're taping this on Monday morning. It was announced by Chris Ballard, has tested positive for COVID-19, is fully vaccinated, does not have any symptoms, but is quarantining. So Frank Reich not with the team, and I'm assuming won't be with the team tomorrow. I think the first practice is Wednesday. I think the players and everybody maybe get going on Tuesday. So I shouldn't say that. I'm not going to speculate. I don't know how long he's going to quarantine or whatever else. But this COVID stuff and the vaccine stuff especially, I don't know, Jake, are you surprised that there's been this much player backlash? Like, I really just thought, oh, okay, well, the vaccine's here and everybody will get it because they don't want to lose games or get suspended or quarantine or whatever else.
I'm not surprised by it. I mean, I understand.
I guess I shouldn't be.
I understand why there would be hesitation. I don't. I mean,
This
I think,
much hesitation, though, that's what I'm surprised about.
I think that when you are a young person, and we forget that professional athletes, Derek, are in their early to mid-20s for the most part. So you have an aura of invincibility anyway, okay? And you think to yourself, if you are a player, you would think to yourself, well, I'm in a physical shape that 2% of all humanity ever gets in. And there's no guarantee that I would ever even get the virus. And if I do, my body would be able to kick it easily. Whereas if I get the vaccine, it's 100% that I'm putting something foreign into my body. Now, of course, the number of supplements and things guys that are professional athletes are putting in their body is pretty laughable as it is. But I personally think at this point, if someone gets, and I hope no one does, at this point I look at it and I think, look, you've had plenty of opportunity here to prevent getting critically ill from COVID. And I know that there are exceptions to everything. I get it all. I am a huge advocate for being vaccinated. Open disclaimer. Having said that, for whatever reason, the Colts appear to be, it is factual, the franchise that has had the least success convincing their players at a high number to get vaccinated. Conspiracy theorist in me would say, is it possible that as repeated reports came out that the Colts were among the lowest, if not the lowest in the NFL at number of players that have been vaccinated, and as Jim Irsay came out saying, look, there's no reason to not be vaccinated at this point, you got to follow the science. I'm paraphrasing what Jim Irsay said, but clearly Jim Irsay was on board with getting players vaccinated, but it's ultimately a player choice. So the Colts are saying, okay, we've done all this, and yet we're still in the bottom of the league. What happens if it's week 10 and we have to forfeit a game? I don't think that would happen, but it's possible, right? Is it possible that they said, let's show that if you test positive while vaccinated, that you're not going to have any issue? So Frank Reich comes out and says, I'm vaccinated and I'm positive. And they say, look, see, Coach Reich only missed 3 days.
The reason why I don't think so, and I love the conspiracy stuff because I think it really does add to the show. And there are some times where I'm like, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think the reason why I don't think that that's the case here is because we've been going through this for 18 months. We've got, even since the vaccine, we've got a 6-ish month window to look at. There are all kinds of examples and all kinds of information and non-information that is out there. The NFL has provided every resource possible to their players to let them know about the vaccine, what's in the vaccine, the results of the vaccine, everything that we can possibly know, because there is some stuff that is unknown. I'm not going to dispute that. You don't know. There have been cases of heart inflammation and some stuff. It's very isolated and not very many of them, but that stuff has popped up. There are risks to just about everything. So I don't think just Reich getting it and being fine is going to convince somebody who's really dug in on not getting it to get it.
Well, they have a couple of stars that are really dug in.
I think the paycheck is going to do it because with the new mandate, if you have a outbreak among unvaccinated players and you have to forfeit a game, no one gets paid. And if I'm, let's say I'm Colts linebacker Derek. I'd probably play corner. Colts cornerback
You're the kicker,
Derek Schultz.
You're clearly the kicker.
Well, no, given my build and everything, I would have to be a little bit taller, but I certainly have the build to be an NFL cornerback. Colts cornerback Derek Schultz, fully vaccinated, because that is the personal choice that I would make. Once you start screwing with my money,
you're the kicker right here.
I'm all for personal choice. And Jake, we've dealt with a lot of these guys. We did the Reggie Wayne show, we did the Robert Mathis show, and remember, every time that there was a contract negotiation with another player, Reggie or Robert or anybody else that we talked to would said, that's their business. That's their money. And if they're holding out, you know what I mean? They all said that. Right. They all understood that it's their money. But once you mess with my money, all bets are off. That's when I have to step in because this is the whole problem. And it's not just an NFL thing. This is a society thing. There are certain people that are only looking at this through the prism of how does this affect me? And your choice does not just affect you. It affects the other people around you. So, look, I'm a big personal freedoms guy. If you don't want to get the vaccine, fine. But you can't then turn around and whine about it affecting the people around you, your teammates, their pocketbooks, your team itself when it comes to, let's say, a playoff run. God forbid the Colts have to forfeit a game to the Titans or something like that late in the season. So, that's kind of where I'm at with this. The NFL, I don't think is going to go any farther than this. I don't think they're going to do a full-scale mandate, but this is about as close to a mandate as you could possibly get. It is. And I'm disappointed, Jake, that
the Colts right now are at about
60%. This is the way that they've chosen to handle it, but I think they lack team vocal leadership.
Let me ask.
And I think they've lacked. People could say, well, Darius Leonard. No, I don't think they have that guy that makes. I don't think they have the fall in line guy that makes everybody fall in line. Whereas they had all kinds of those guys, Mathis, Wayne, Manning, in years past,
right.
And I don't think they have that right now in their locker room.
Right now it's at about 60% is the vaccination list. They can say, and they have said, that whether or not a player is vaccinated will not factor into final cuts. And I believe that, except for comes down to the last spot on the roster, and you've got 2 offensive linemen that are going to be rotational guys that they're absolutely, you've gone over every piece of film, everything else. Their salary, everything is there's no. It's a tough decision. I don't know who we go with here. We got 2 guys, and we only got spot for 1. One's vaccinated, one's not.
Oh, you're keeping the vaccinated guy. I think if there's anything close, teams can say it all they want.
I know.
They're not going to put themselves out there. Look, Darius Leonard, if he doesn't get the vaccine, is not going to get cut, right? He's Darius Leonard.
Right.
But these other roster decisions, to me,
correct,
regardless of what they say publicly, you're keeping the vaccinated player.
I would agree. Totally agree.
You're just, and that's the thing, Jake, and that's what's so frustrating about this. Like, I'm just ready for the nonsense to be over with. Can you still get COVID if you're fully vaccinated? Yeah, of course. Can you still get sick? Yeah, of course. Can you die? There's like a 0.00001% chance, but yeah, I guess you could. But I'm just ready to. We want to move on to normalcy, yet we have so many people that are being dragged, kicking and screaming through this. I don't understand. I don't get it.
I will say this: the thing I don't understand is simply this: people who want to downplay COVID-19 by pointing out the survival percentage rate then should look at the fact that the survival percentage rate is drastically assisted by, and the survival rate among those vaccinated. If you're going to go with statistics, then wouldn't you go with the statistics that even better go in your favor?
Just to be hospitalized fully vaccinated is very, very rare.
Right.
So, I don't know. Maybe a topic for a different show. Let's talk about from a football standpoint, even though obviously, the vaccination stuff, it's a competitive disadvantage for the Colts, clearly. We could sit here and argue all you want, pro-vaccine, anti-vax, whatever. You can't argue. It's a huge competitive disadvantage for the Colts to be at 60%, whereas other teams are at 95%. Training camp storylines and some of the things that you're looking for in some of the position battles, maybe.
At the quarterback position, we know who's going to be the starting quarterback. To me, what's really interesting is how close is the gap between starter and backup.
Yeah, see, I don't think that there's any chance it's anybody other than Wentz. I think what's interesting is who's going to be the QB2 because we don't know.
And do they have on the roster the eventual heir apparent?
My answer to that still would be no, but we'll see. I mean, Ellinger, Eason, and God, I'm spacing.
Well, Eason's the guy that clearly I'm thinking of.
I'm spacing on their 4th guy. None of those 3 have thrown an NFL pass in a preseason game, much less a regular season one. So you still have a long way to go with all those guys. I think it'll be interesting to see some of the lower level, what's going to happen at defensive end, because you've got Banagou and Teray, who both are pretty much in put up or shut up seasons, I think, at this point. Teray's in a contract year.
Right.
And with Teray, it's been less can he do it, because I think we'd all agree Kamoko Teray, when healthy, can be a really good player. It's can you stay healthy?
Well, that's the problem, right.
And Banagou, it's more can you play, because the Colts are insistent that he can
play. They've been patient with him.
Yet he's been a healthy scratch a whole bunch. So, we want to see it. Paris Campbell, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, we can talk all we want about how Paris Campbell looks in shorts. He's played 9 games in 2 years. So if he can't be out there, then he's not going to make any impact at all. You can't have him. So I think those are, from the injury front, those are some of the things that kind of pop out to me. They say there's a kicking battle, but I can't imagine. Rodrigo Blankenship is accurate and handsome, and his brand power. I can't imagine that you would move on from that. I mean, he really doesn't have any flaws.
Distance?
I guess vision, because he has to have glasses, but really that's been a strength more than a...
Distance?
Distance as to what?
His range.
Well, his range is unbelievable. He can act.
His range as a kicker.
Like I said, that he's easy to look at, easy on the eyes.
Comes down to a field goal needed to win the AFC, and you're lining up for a 51-yarder. You feel good with him?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to overstate it, but I would say outside of maybe like Patrick Mahomes, he would be probably the most clutch player in the NFL right now. Like if you were to poll people, most clutch
inside
players.
40 yards, you're correct.
No, just on the football field in general, all over the field, he's clutch.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way,
weird. I'm insulted that you're insinuating otherwise.
Do you want to say something to our friend Austin Lackey based on that?
I did, yeah. I did see Doug, who's been a long-time
Yep.
listener to the show, who we've met in person. He came out to one of the Wings Etc. shows, I think.
I think that's right, yeah.
West Sider, and his son Austin was self-conscious about having to wear, did they call him rec specs anymore?
He had to wear glasses.
He had to wear glasses in football competition, Pee Wee football, and he reached out to us to say, hey, you guys have both worn them. Derek, obviously you look great in them. So can you give Austin some motivation, if you will, or encouragement, I guess? And you brought up Eric Dickerson, and for me, the rec specs guy was always James Worthy because we shared the same birthday.
Yeah.
So I always liked
Kareem
James Worthy.
Abdul-Jabbar?
Well, yeah, Kareem too.
Bottom line is, Austin, I thought, looks cool in his glasses.
Yeah, 100%.
He looks cool in his glasses. Yeah. And other kids might say something to him or make him self-conscious, or any of you who have kids that are wearing glasses and are self-conscious about it. And bottom line is, like I said, man, that's your superpower, right?
Yeah, girls love them. I started wearing them again after I got engaged and noticed, I had to be, a little bit more standoffish. Like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm taken. Because of the glasses. I mean, that happens a little bit because I'm a public figure, too, And not that this doesn't look good, because this looks good, too, but it's just there's something about this. It kind of like completes the package.
But you need your glasses, right?
Yeah.
Like, take your glasses off.
Okay.
How many fingers am I holding up?
3. I'm pretty good nearsighted.
How many here?
Okay, well, that's profane.
That's not at all.
That's profane.
I was just giving you the number one.
But, like, if you would hold up something like on the other side of the studio here, I wouldn't be able to read it. It's blurry.
Austin, you look great in the glasses, man. Keep with it and
get after it, Austin.
Tune it out and get after it. That's right.
Yep.
What else do we have to get to?
Lots to get to still.
Okay.
Olympics. Cleveland Indians name change to the Guardians and how that may or may not affect the Indy Indians. I feel like there was something else I'm missing here. Oh, God. Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC, which is now official, by the way.
Right, okay.
So we'll dive into that next.
Sounds good.
And what that could mean for the Big Ten. It's Query and Schultz here on ISC Sports Network. Stick around.
We pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service, but at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Your life is on the go. Now your viewing habits can be on the go. With the ISC Sports Network app, your team is at your fingertips. You can download years' worth of content from the ISC Sports Network library. High school, college, special events, weekly and monthly shows, wherever you find your favorite app. And you can always find out more information at iscsportsnetwork.com.
Welcome back to Query and Schultz here on ISC Sports Network. Thanks to those of you who are listening via podcast or watching. Derek, once again, it is time to talk about our great friends at Chateau Kitchens. And that means, by the way,
Chateau.
Matthew says I should wear the hat backwards, but then you can't see the fabulous logo of Chateau Kitchens. Chateau Kitchens and Home Remodeling.
You mentioned Matthew, by the way, real quick before we get to Chateau. He was actually at Long Sands Beach in York when I was there on Tuesday. And he messaged me, and he's like, hey, you don't happen to be at Long Sands. I know you're coming out to Maine, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm at Long Sands. Come up and say hi. And he had already left at that point, and I was so bummed because my in-laws would have freaked out if I got recognized on a beach in Maine. Hey, aren't you Schultz from Query and Schultz? And I wanted to meet Matthew. I mean, he's been one of our most loyal viewers, and I don't think was a holdover from the radio days. He found us via ISC Sports Network and this particular show. So, hi, Matthew.
He says that I look better with the hat backwards than forwards. But I'm gonna
he saw me at the beach, and I had a cutoff on and a bronze skin. And
you said
I was looking good.
You said he didn't see you.
No, he did see me. But he wanted to make sure it was me, so he messaged me before coming up to talk.
He wanted to make sure it was you. So
I know I can be intimidating.
Okay,
he's not the first person that has shied away from that.
Up with this story.
Chateau Kitchens and Home Remodeling is the premier provider of residential cabinetry.
Through, Derek, and you did so far more full of flaw than did the folks at Chateau Kitchen.
And Home Remodeling in Central Indiana. You can check out their showroom up on Carmel Drive. Also, you can check out all the before and after pictures of some of their projects at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and on Facebook as well. Steven and his team do a tremendous job. Victoria was our designer. Ryan was our project manager who was with us the whole way. The crew was friendly and attentive. And when I say meticulous, they were if there was a loose, like little tiny bit nail in one of the hardwoods, Ryan would come through and make sure that it was hammered down. Like they did it to the nines, and the kitchen's beautiful. And we're still enjoying it now, even 3 years later. So if you have a project in mind, please keep my friends Chateau Kitchens on your Rolodex there. ChateauKitchens.com.
Oh, Rolodex! I used to say that, and who used to mock me for it?
Well, it's just a general term, Jake. I'm not actually talking. No, people don't have a physical.
Which is
Rolodex
exactly
anymore,
what I used to say.
But you have a Rolodex like in your phone.
Contact list. Get with the times. Okay. By the way, what phone do you have?
I have an iPhone 2nd generation SE. I always have the phones that are like 4 generations behind because kind of like cars, I just need this to get me to I need a car to get me from point A to point B. I need a phone just that has internet and send text messages, and I don't need like a big screen.
I totally agree, and I will say this. I have the new 5G phone, and it absolutely 100% is terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. Let's talk conference realignment or potential conference realignment.
Well, the 5G's not up yet. Well, then why'd you sell it to me?
Big bombshell, Texas and Oklahoma moving to the SEC and what this means for the Big 12. I think the automatic knee-jerk reaction was, okay, well, the Big 12's up for grabs, so the Big 10 should go ahead and grab Kansas and Iowa State. And the thought that I had was not that the Big 12 is up for grabs, it's that everyone's up for grabs.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
you know, look at the situation with the Pac-12. The Pac-12 network has not taken off at all. Those schools financially aren't getting what the Big 10 or SEC schools are getting. Like, that to me should be the target more than Iowa State and Kansas, because as much as we want to sit here and talk about, well, they're AAU schools and this is what they bring to the table, Iowa State, you know, no offense to our buddy Rob Lynch, Iowa State doesn't do anything for me. Kansas basketball, okay, great. You're not adding a media market there in Lawrence, Kansas, or really anything in Kansas. Even Wichita is tiny, comparatively speaking. So, I think I would say the ACC, Jake, but given their TV rights deal that goes in the 2030s, I don't think that that's a realistic option to poach anybody like Virginia or Georgia Tech or Carolina.
Okay, a couple things come into play here, Derek. First off, the TV money must really be something in the SEC, because I look at now Texas has flexibility because they have their own network, for crying out loud. Texas is a brand.
There's some talk. I thought I read about that going away, their Longhorn network, and just agreeing to fold into the SEC deal.
Maybe that's what it is.
I don't know.
But to me, what was curious from Texas and Oklahoma's standpoint is, from a football standpoint, this is a big risk.
Oh, yeah. It's a much easier road to the playoff if you're Oklahoma in the Big 12 than it is in the SEC.
Correct.
Much easier.
So, the SEC, though, this is a coup. But for Texas and Oklahoma, it's like it all comes down to dollars. And as the conferences, if in fact, and I don't know that the poaching is going to take place like we thought, partially because I asked the question, for example, in the Big Ten, if other teams come calling or other conferences come calling for Big Ten teams, clearly Michigan and Ohio State are the top 2 brands in the Big Ten. So who would be 3, 4, and 5? And, people were chiming in with, it would be, Michigan State or Iowa or Indiana or Purdue or all these. Penn State is clearly third.
Yeah,
if
I
not,
agree.
If not in the top two.
Because you get Philly and you get basically a statewide presence there.
Here's what it comes down to, Derek. It was when I put this on Twitter, someone reached out to me who's pretty heavily involved in this kind of thing and said, listen, it all comes down to logo and merchandising. And, like, for example, give me a random U.S. city off the top of your head that's middle to small market west of the middle of nowhere. Topeka, Kansas. You walk into a Topeka, Kansas lids. You're going to see Kansas stuff there, right? You're probably going to see Kansas State. What 6 teams are you guaranteed you're going to see?
Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame, Alabama.
Michigan?
Yeah, Michigan is way up there too. Yep.
Penn State's probably up there because of football.
Yep.
So it comes down to merchandise and logo trademarking and the money that comes with that branding. It comes down to the branding. Now, Iowa State and Kansas are of appeal if you were going to if the Big 12 disintegrates and you got to start poaching teams. They are of some appeal because they have big alumni bases and because in particular Iowa State's case, Iowa State has the yin and the yang here. They have the yin of the fact that they're pretty good in football and are national. They're usually in the conversation of potential outside chance at a playoff bid or a good bowl game. And in basketball, they are typically a top 4 or 5 seed.
Yeah,
usually
it's a very underrated basketball program
and an underrated football program. Yeah. The problem is there's nothing sexy about Iowa State.
No. It's really Iowa's version of Purdue. And don't get me wrong, I love Purdue, but there's nothing sexy about Purdue either.
I mean, it's a fine school. It has everything you're looking for, except for it doesn't have cachet outside of Ames, Iowa.
Or outside the state borders.
Right.
Yeah.
And the same really can be now. Kansas has, at least from a logo and merchandising standpoint,
a little bit of.
I mean, their Jayhawk is way up there, right? Yeah. But football-wise, they're so bad and so non. Yeah. I mean, they're just not even discussed.
Non-factor.
Unless they have the guy who was the
Mangino,
bigger
right?
Fella, yeah.
Yeah. You always make fun of him. It's
throwing soiled towels at people and stuff.
Okay,
I think
allegedly.
Isn't that right?
Allegedly.
I don't think there's any allegedly about it.
Allegedly.
He took him to a BCS bowl.
Let's move on to
do you know what you have to do to take Kansas to a BCS bowl and still get shown the door?
I don't want to talk about the large former Kansas coach throwing feces at people, okay? The 2 things that I never want to discuss on this show again are Mangino's wiping stick and my prostate exams in my early 30s. Okay?
I never brought up
mention again.
Specifically the allegations. Okay. And all of a sudden you're talking about him throwing poo.
2 things I never want to discuss again on the show.
I never said it. I think ultimately everybody holds pat. I really do. I'm probably going to be shown to be a total idiot here, but
it's going to be really – well, you can't really hold pat because the Big 12 can't exist as it is without Texas and Oklahoma. So they're going to have to do something, whether that's molding with the Pac-12 or just going to Houston and UCF and a bunch of other of those schools, Cincinnati, and saying, hey, come on, let's get a league together. Maybe they become the new Conference USA.
For the sake of fun, because we did it on social media, for the sake of fun, if the Big Ten called you and said, Derek, we are in position now to go out and get 2 schools. We're going to add 2 schools. Who do you go after?
USC and UCLA.
Okay.
I mean, right? The SEC, go big or go home. They went after Texas and Oklahoma, and they got them. That's what I would do. But if we're just talking about, fits for the Big Ten, I've always felt like Pitt would be a great fit. Academically, they're tremendous.
Totally agree.
They've got a good basketball and good football program. They have good histories with both of those. It's in a geographic footprint that makes sense for the Big Ten. And the other one for me would be somebody like Virginia or Georgia Tech, where you're moving into an area that you don't really have a footprint right now. I guess you do a little bit with Maryland in the DMV.
Georgia
with Virginia.
Tech's not bad. I like that.
But Georgia Tech's another good academic school. But the problem is, Jake, again, the TV rights deal with the ACC. I think that's kind of that's a tough one. And people mentioning West Virginia. West Virginia's academics are so poor that's just a non-starter for the Big Ten. They're not going to.
I don't know.
It still goes money and athletics, But they kind of stuck their necks out there for Nebraska. You know, when they invited Nebraska, Nebraska was part of that AAU. It wasn't until afterwards that they got kicked out. But West Virginia, the ranks are too poor, I think, for them to stick their neck out there. Same thing. Academics at Louisville aren't good either.
Louisville's got some areas academically that I think are very strong.
All schools have that. Yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to sit here and say, oh, right. West Virginia is a crappy school or, you know, whatever. But the Big Ten seems to really take seriously this AAU thing, which is it's like 60 research universities. And the only 2 of the Big 12 that are part of that are Iowa State and Kansas, if I'm not mistaken.
I can tell you, as somebody who was admitted to University of Kansas, at least, speaking for the early 90s,
yeah.
Their academic admission requirement was what was listed as less competitive.
Yeah.
That would be how I
And that's the way with big state schools, for the most part, outside of like Michigan, Cal, Berkeley, and UVA,
right. Yeah.
That's kind of what you get. Not that they're not selective at all. Not anybody can go there, but it's certainly less selective than, you know, Northwestern and, you know, places like that.
You know, the other question is what school. This is why Pitt is of appeal. Kansas, I can't say this for, but Pitt would be one of the few exceptions here. You know, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, and Virginia are deeply rooted in the ACC. I mean, if you were a diehard fan of North Carolina, it would be heartbreaking to no longer be in the ACC tournament.
You would say the same thing about Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Maryland was an ACC school through and through.
I guess
Lefty
you're right.
Driesell and Cole Fieldhouse. I mean, all that stuff was.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
I mean, that was the quintessential. You know, Nebraska less.
Georgia Tech's a good one. I had not thought of Georgia Tech, but that's a good one.
Yeah, like Big 12 and Big 8 and SWC. Remember, there was some conference realignment there, so you felt less committed there. But I remember being shocked that Maryland was coming to the Big 10.
When I was a kid, my dad, to teach me how to memorize all the conferences, gave me little acronyms.
I remember this. Yeah.
Southwest Conference, for example.
Mm-hmm.
The Southwest Conference was, I can tell you, TTT Barsh.
TTT Barsh.
Yeah. Texas, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Baylor, Arkansas, Rice, SMU, Houston.
Nice.
Southwest Conference. Yeah. Big 8 was Oink Monk.
Oink Monk. Ooh.
Oink Monk.
Oink Monk. Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa State.
Yep.
Nebraska.
Yep.
Kansas.
Yep.
What is the last one? Oink Monk. Missouri.
Yep. Monk with an O.
Oh, with a monk. What other O am I missing?
Barry Sanders.
Oh, Oklahoma State.
Yep. N.
Another N?
They defected from the conference, but yes.
Well, Nebraska, I already said.
Wait a minute.
Who's the other N?
No, maybe it was just Oink Mock. Hold on. OINKMONK.
Kansas State is the other K.
Correct.
Yeah.
So let me think of
who would be the other N?
I'll have to think of that.
Okay. Well, I guess you remembered wrong. I
Yeah.
mean, we are talking about 50 years ago, so.
It was 45 years ago,
It's
yes.
a long, long time ago.
Now I'm going to think about this. Can we think about it during break?
We can do that,
Okay.
yeah. But I trust that the Big Ten is going to – I still think the Big Ten is in a good position. The problem for the Big Ten is that you couldn't afford to lose Michigan or Ohio State. Like what just happened to the Big 12 is –
Who am I missing from the Big 8?
I'm going to attempt to say this word because it's a great word. It's cataclysmic. Right?
It's impressive.
Yeah. Am I using that term correctly?
I don't know because I'm still trying to think
Let
of
me
the
look it up
missing
online.
Big 8 school.
Okay, so you'll find the missing Big 8 school.
Colorado. It was
and I'll
Oink
look
Mock.
up, okay.
It was Oink Mock, Colorado.
I'll look up cataclysmic.
You got that?
Yep.
Oink Mock.
Cataclysmic.
C for Colorado.
3, 2, 1. Cataclysmic.
What would you just do?
I didn't do anything. We just caught it in
Are you
post,
creating
so no one
it?
knows. No one knows what you're asking me what I just did.
Okay.
We'll come back
C
from break.
is for Colorado.
And get some things cleaned up on this show, which is always difficult to do. It's Query and
I
Schultz
guess.
IST.
Uh-huh.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Your life is on the go. Now your viewing habits can be on the go. With the ISC Sports Network app, your team is at your fingertips. You can download years' worth of content from the ISC Sports Network library. High school, college, special events, weekly and monthly shows, wherever you find your favorite app. And you can always find out more information at iscsportsnetwork.com.
Oh my God! We are ripping fast today. And how hard can it be, right?
These are now selling for about $3,500. So we're back to our old ways of pulling rocks.
Act like idiots on camera, open cards, and talk about the hobby.
You're watching Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network.
McCulling in time. Oh, no! It's good.
This one is good.
There you
go.
go.
Wow, Dawson makes a great catch.
Spin, win, 3, bury it for Leland Walker.
Tie the game they do with the dunk by Malik Edmonds. What a play.
Oh, my goodness.
I feel a little momentum starting to fall Ellen's way. That it is Wrestler! Wrestler!
Whoa!
Welcome back. It's Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network alongside Jake Query. I am the nicely bronzed Derek Schultz. Thanks so much for joining us on the show this week after
Sage
a
is
2-week
here,
absence. I was told that we were going to get rid of this GIF.
No,
I was told that we were moving on from this.
not doing
All right, by football season, I want this gone or else I'm going to walk.
that. Okay.
I have an out clause in my contract for this type of behavior. It is an out clause that I did not have in my previous contract in the radio days, which is the reason that we lasted 8.5 years. I mean, I would have walked off the set probably
9.5,
sometime
right?
in 2012. It was 8.5.
You
We're
sure?
reaching the 10-year anniversary in 3 weeks. It was 2011.
I guess you're right.
And we got gassed in 2020.
Okay.
Well, sorry. Reduction in force in
That is
2020.
true.
That's what ended up happening.
Okay.
WGU Indiana, a great place to earn your degree on your time, which is what people want right now. Hectic schedules, hectic lives. We're used to now working from home. How about earning a degree from home online with WGU Indiana?
Yeah, it's the beauty of it with WGU, Indiana's largest online accredited university, is the fact that you can work on your schedule. Just like Sage, the owl, who is, of course, nocturnal. If you are, or maybe you have the kids and you want to do something once they go to bed late at night, continue finishing that degree, or even starting a new venture for a degree, WGU.edu/Indiana is the place to do it for Indiana's largest online accredited
Corey
university.
Elliott, who does PR for our friends at WGU Indiana, huge Texas fan.
So he's a big fan of the SEC now.
He is really excited about the Longhorns churning out fifth-place SEC West finishes every fall.
That may happen.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was playing with the basketball.
It's too bad because it is great jerseys, great history, great program.
Yeah, it's cool.
That they haven't. I mean, I think it's somewhat similar to Indiana basketball in that you've gotten like little glimmers that, okay, they're going to do it. They're going to get back. And then it's almost like one step forward, 2 steps back. You know?
Derek, Texas football and Indiana basketball are very interesting because they have a lot of similarities in this fact. And that is, if you look at Texas football and people say, why isn't Texas the Texas of old? Well, it's not necessarily that Texas isn't the Texas of old. It's that Texas Tech and Baylor and TCU.
Well, A&M moving over to the SEC has been a nice program.
All of those schools are no longer their schools of old, and they've elevated to the point now where Texas is no longer just going out and opening the door up and saying, okay, the top high school players from Texas, come here.
Everybody goes into Texas.
And the same with Indiana. Indiana 25, 30, 45 years ago opened the doors up and said, okay, who wants to come play at Indiana? And now those kids are going to Purdue or Michigan State, or obviously Louisville and Kentucky were always around, but Ohio State or Xavier or Cincinnati, Illinois. I mean, there's it's the same
look,
thing.
If you're a high school kid in Texas and you want to play in the SEC, Arkansas is right there. You're bordering LSU. You're so close. It's not like you're going way, way far away.
Have you been to an Arkansas game before?
No, I've never stepped foot in the state of Arkansas.
Really?
Never.
It's actually a beautiful state.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
But at the games, you know what they yell, right? The Arkansas fans.
Woo, pig soup.
That's it.
Yeah.
Wee. Yeah.
Where does that even come
woo.
from?
I don't know. Woo, pig suey. I don't know.
Because the Razorback is like a boar, right? That's
exactly
what it's supposed to be.
Kind of like you. What you're thinking to yourself, you don't want to say it. What you're thinking to yourself is that is quick. Guy's quick. A bore. That guy's quick.
This is why I wanted the out clause in the contract this time around.
We're about to. We're getting set
like
for.
I can take a couple of those.
We're getting set for the state fair, which means everybody can go back and again see the world's largest boar.
And the Nerf footballs.
And the Nerf footballs.
Are we doing the dairy barn, by the way?
It's a dairy bar.
Sorry, I'm not aware of a dairy bar.
Yes, it's the dairy bar because they serve
alcoholic beverages.
They serve. It's a play on words.
They serve alcohol at the fair, so I didn't know.
It's right next to that. The dairy bar. Yes, I believe.
Dairy barn. Yes.
We did. We did. The American Dairy Association of Indiana had their annual ice cream luncheon, and we were there distributing along with Greg Rakestraw. And afterwards, when I left, and you bailed early, it was hot.
No, that's not why. I had to pick up my son.
I'm a little toasty.
It was not. No, that was not my excuse.
It's the humidity. It's just. I know it's 80, but it feels 95.
Whatever else you're
stifling.
there.
When I left, well after you, they said, "See ya in a few weeks at the dairy bar."
Okay. I don't know if I'm saying that. WGU.edu/Indiana. Let's get to our Love That Play as well. Actually, another tie-in. I just mentioned Corey. Another one of the front of the show, Chris and John Love, twin brothers of Love Heating and Cooling. I actually saw Chris at Baltimore Airport.
Really?
We were both waiting for a connection. I was coming from Boston and Logan, which I'm assuming he was coming from too, because he came from the Cape, but for some reason he wasn't on my first flight. So I don't know if there was just another. I mean, Boston's a big airport, so maybe there was another flight.
Were you flying Southwest?
Yeah.
So did you sit next to him on the flight?
No.
Why not?
I sat next to my family.
Well, I know, but I mean, your family's two people?
No, Chris was in.
You get the across, or
Chris was in like C group, I think. And I don't sit near people in C group.
Did he not do the early bird?
Yeah, I don't think he did, because we were in the back of A. I mean, we're A group.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, as a person and as a business, Love is in the A group, but apparently as a Southwest Flyer,
I think that's what people love about Love Heating. Here's the thing, folks. You want to know why it is that Chris Love is sitting in C for the Southwest, aside from the fact that it's festival seating and that really doesn't mean anything. But theoretically speaking, it's because you're talking down to earth here, right? You're talking about the fact that they're not going to charge an arm and a leg. That's the beauty of Love Heating and Air Conditioning. Been around since 1920. That's over 100 years. Family-owned business, love-hvac.com. 317-353-2141 is the telephone number. Again, love-hvac.com. Our favorite play of the week, Derek. Love that play. You go with what?
Well, first, real quick, one more Chris story. I'm kind of embarrassed because we're going to send him this clip because we mentioned him on the show. James wasn't he was kind of over it at that point travel-wise. He really had to poop. So we were waiting at the gate, and he was being a little bit fussy. And
we don't need to know.
I didn't want Chris to see that and think, oh, my God, his kid's out of control. He's a bad dad, because it was a long travel day. We were up at like 6:30 leaving the house in Maine, and we had a long layover at Logan and returning the rental car.
How old's your kid?
And there was a lot. 4.5. Okay. But he really is a good traveler, and he was a B plus A minus. But that particular spot when we were getting on the plane, he was being a little bit fussy. But we ended up pooping, and everything was fine. And he actually took a nap on that flight. It just sucked because we had to do it in the airplane lavatory, and those things are death traps because you can get sucked out of the plane. The flush is very violent and loud. And so I'm like in there, and it's all narrow, even for me, and I'm not a very big guy. I mean, I'm broad, but I'm not a very big guy.
It just goes, and then all of a sudden,
yeah,
you're done.
It's awful. And people have gotten sucked out of the plane, and they've never seen them again before from using the airplane lavatory. So he only did it because he had to go number 2.
So you're telling me the one thing we know for a fact is that Amelia Earhart was regular?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay.
And people say, well, what's the proof? You've never heard of anybody getting sucked out.
DB
well,
Cooper,
how would you ever know? Because you'd get sucked out of a plane, you'd be gone. No one would ever see you again.
Well, you have to land somewhere.
Well, you'd land, you'd be like in pieces. You'd be like pink mist from hitting the ground. See? We talk about conspiracy theories. You've got one about Reich and COVID. I've got one about airplane lavatories.
I don't have a conspiracy theory on Reich and COVID.
So anyway, it was nice to see Chris. I just hope that he wasn't judging me 10 hours into a 12-hour travel day.
I'm judging you on your hair colic or whatever that's called. You got a hair out of place there.
Oh, I do?
Yeah. You kind of got it.
There?
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Here, put your hat on. It just
looks good up there.
Okay.
Hi. All right. Love that play. Where were we?
Well, I'm going to flip this hat up to you. Keep going.
Ariane Titmus, the Australian swimmer.
There. Look at that.
She upset Katie Ledecky in the 400-meter freestyle. And her coach, let me make sure I have his name right, Dean Boxall, went berserk.
He did.
Like thrusting the air and like grabbing the railing and was going crazy. And I just love it, Jake. I mean, it's been a 5-year wait, right? You've been training and it's all for what? Like a 60-second race? And then you turn in a performance of a lifetime and you beat an Olympic champion and hero and favorite in Ledecky, and to see the outpouring of emotion, like that's what I love about the Olympics.
You know what I learned yesterday, because I looked it up and it surprised me? Lily King in the breaststroke is the greatest to have ever done it, right? I mean, she is the world record holder in the 100-meter breaststroke. She swam the 100-meter breaststroke and won the 100-meter breaststroke as a swimmer at Wrights High School in Evansville for the IHSAA. So she's an IHSAA state champion in the 100-meter breaststroke. Makes sense because she has recorded the fastest 100-meter breaststroke in the history of women's swimming.
Yeah.
She doesn't hold the Indiana state record. How
Really?
about that? Yeah.
Wow. That is kind of amazing.
Isn't that? She's not the record holder.
I mean, it's more amazing that there was a state...
Emily Weiss, I believe is her name, from Yorktown.
Wow. So it's actually kind of more amazing that there's a state champion swimmer that did not attend Carmel High School.
You're right.
So, wow, that is, yeah. That's a great trivia question, actually. She's a world record holder and not the record holder in her own state.
Correct.
That's wild.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty cool.
That's good. You very rarely impress me on this show. You just impress me.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
So you should take that seriously, because if you impress Derek Schultz, whew, that is a compliment for sure. Bite or Bowl Bleep we've got to get to. Also, I wanted to talk about the Guardians and as it relates to the Indians before we wrap up on the show as well.
All right, sounds good.
It's Corey and Schultz. Still more to get to, so stick around here on ISC Sports Network.
We pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service, but at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Your life is on the go. Now your viewing habits can be on the go. With the ISC Sports Network app, your team is at your fingertips. You can download years' worth of content from the ISC Sports Network library. High school, college, special events, weekly and monthly shows, wherever you find your favorite app. And you can always find out more information at iscsportsnetwork.com.
Shot at the buzzer. Got it! She got it! Oh my goodness, what a shot!
Brady,
Hello!
did it again.
Hello!
Made the highlight reel again. That goes to Mentor and all kinds of room to run. Down the middle of the field, and he will not be touched. Jackson, hello! There we go.
Stokes throws it, caught, ball ricochets!
Wow.
A huge hit!
Wow!
This has been an amazing display of goal scoring.
Back for a final time here on Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports
Did you get
Network.
caught with your...
Sorry, I was. My wife was texting me. She's,
really?
Yeah. Out running errands. Wanted to know if I needed anything at Target.
Oh, that's dangerous.
I always need stuff at Target. Yeah.
Yeah, you walk into Target to get one thing, and you walk out.
You walk out with 10 things.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time. Target's one of those places for me, for sure. Definitely didn't need any clothing. As you can see, I'm pretty set in the fashion department. This portion of the show brought to you by our friends at Bailey & Wood Financial Group. Once again, BAWFG.com. If you are looking to refinance, mortgage rates still low, but especially if you are about to be buying a house, you have to get pre-approval now. I mean, houses are selling. We had 2 houses on my block in Midtown.
Unbelievable, yeah.
They're selling same day.
Yeah.
All of them. And even, the 2 houses on my block were nice and didn't need a lot of work, but you're even seeing houses that need like a brand new kitchen and whatever else go for like 20, 25 over axing.
They need the brand new kitchen,
Crazy.
no problem. They just call Chateau Kitchens,
yeah,
right?
you should take care of that beforehand and add the value to your house for sure. But Mike Wood and his team can help you do that. 13 Indiana branch locations, 5-star customer service. Don't go national with whatever it is, Rocket Mortgage Fund, or some of these other companies. Keep it local. Indiana's hometown mortgage lender. They're people that live right here in the neighborhood with you. They're going to take care of you like they took care of me. Call Mike Wood and his team, 855-350-HOME, or visit them online, BAWFG.com.
By the way, I rearranged our bobbleheads during the break to make sure that Slick, rest his soul, was
most
closer,
prominent.
Yeah, exactly, and was closer to the ABA Pacers.
Yeah.
So there we go. We got everybody.
Is Person? I mean, clearly there are 2 that are out here that are the worst 2, and all of these were fantastic.
The worst 2 in terms of what?
As far as their NBA or professional careers were concerned. But is Person the worst one, you think? I think it's close between him and the person that would be second.
It's funny because Chuck Person as an NBA player was probably lesser than Chuck Person as a Pacer.
I agree.
Because when he was here, in particular, in his first couple of years, he was really their only, mainline. He was a star.
That the NBA Pacers actually drafted a competent NBA player.
Correct, and they got into the playoffs, and he had a great series in Boston. You know what I mean?
For a minute there, he looked like maybe the best player in that class.
Yeah,
along with Daugherty.
And truthfully, Granger is probably the most overlooked of all of them, right?
Yeah, really forgettable era.
That's a good question. Who's the worst player? It probably is by default. It probably is Person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could also maybe argue Granger, but I mean, all the other guys, all of them are Hall of Famers, or Paul George, who's an All-NBA. Clearly Paul George
He's
had
a
better
talented
NBA
guy.
career than Granger in person.
I
don't know. I just kind of popped into my head.
Paul George is pretty. I mean, look, as much as we want to bang on Paul George, once Kawhi Leonard went out, I thought Paul George was outstanding.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking from a talent standpoint on that bobblehead list, I think you can make an argument that he's second.
Yeah.
I think you can make an argument that he's first, but I would put him behind George McGinnis just for pure talent.
But Slick Leonard clearly.
Mel Daniels, too, would be tough.
Slick Leonard clearly the guardian of the franchise. Yes. Which takes us, Derek, to our discussion on the Cleveland Indians are now the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I didn't know anything about that bridge, and I've been to Cleveland many times. But kind of a cool homage to something that is hyper-local, and you love hyper-local.
That's what I like
I figured
about
that you'd love it.
I when I first saw a couple of things that jumped out at me. When the Cleveland Indians announced that they were going to change their team name, we knew that was coming. I thought personally Comets was my suggestion because the term rock and roll came about when a Cleveland DJ was introducing the song Rock Around the Clock by Bill Haley and the Comets. So Cleveland Comets made sense to me. But I think that was their WNBA team, if I'm not mistaken.
The Houston Comets. They were the Cleveland Rockers,
that's
WNBA.
Right. Okay. So, at any rate.
Look at me with the WNBA history, flexing a little
they
muscle.
They had a team at one point that was the Spiders. People thought they'd go with that. When I heard Guardians, I thought, what? And I'm not wild about the logo.
Yeah, the logo's a little
But then I saw, and then they did the video. And I thought they were just simply saying Guardians because Cleveland is a very proud city. And people of Cleveland guard the reputation of their city. And I thought, well, that's kind of dumb. Then I found out about the structures on a bridge that go over the water there, and they are known as the Guardians of Cleveland. And I'm like, and apparently if you live in Cleveland, you know of that. That's a big thing. It's like the Soldiers and Sailors Monument.
It's kind of badass. Sorry if I can use that term on the show.
No, it's cool. And so I thought, you know what? Good for them. They came up with something that if you have to be from Cleveland to truly appreciate it, then that is the perfect name for a team.
Yeah, well said.
It's their team. You know what I mean? Now, I thought it was interesting that Tom Hanks voiced their video. Shouldn't it have been Drew Carey?
You would think. There are other famous people from Cleveland besides Drew Carey, right?
Yeah, but Tom Hanks isn't from Cleveland.
Yeah. I don't know. You can't go wrong with Tom Hanks.
But
Morgan Freeman.
Here is the difference between the Indianapolis Indians and the Cleveland Indians. And I'm not saying this because I want to be a guardian for Indianapolis or a defender of Indianapolis. But I think there's some truth to this, Derek. Are the Indianapolis Indians eventually going to change their team name? I want to make it very clear. I have not heard any. I know that they have. I don't know if it was the organization, but there has been a committee put together to like study that kind of a thing. I have not heard from the franchise itself that that's a direction they're moving. The difference between the Cleveland Indians, at no disrespect to the Cleveland Indians, and the Indianapolis Indians, and this has not always been true of the Indianapolis Indians. When I was a kid, the Indianapolis Indians mascot was a little guy with a baseball head and a headdress.
And before that, they had a baseball with a headdress on it, right?
That's what I mean.
In
it
like
was
the 50s or 60s.
Yeah, so they definitely had a caricature Indian at one point, and they had a TP out in the outfield that I don't know if they ever used a live mascot. The Atlanta Braves did, Chief Nakahoma. But the reality is this, and I hear people like, oh, these people, they listen to the woke police. Listen, if you're talking about a sports franchise that is being, or a mascot that is to represent a group of people, then probably the opinions of that group of people should be taken above and beyond the group of other people that are upset about a possible change who are assuming it's not an issue for that group of people. Mm. The Indianapolis Indians, at least in this version of it, which would be probably 1998 to present, their logo is simply of like a tribal art, and that's it. They are not caricaturizing people of
there's no Chief Wahoo.
Indigenous people, correct. So that to be said, that would be why I could see why they would stay status quo and just say, look, we're not going to go back to, a comical version of Native Americans. If they were to change it, and I could understand that as well, what would you suggest they change it to?
I would love for them to, as much as I hate them and I'm color-phobic, pay homage to the Negro Leagues teams and either go with the ABCs or clowns if they were allowed to do that. I don't know what the trademark situation is on that because I believe there's a trademark issue with arrows. Or maybe it's not a trademark issue. It's just that why would you change your name from Indians to Arrows when, Arrows and Indians, fair. It's kind of not enough of a departure. And I get what some people are saying, Jake, about how far do we want to go? Because Indianapolis or Indiana, what are you going to do? Change those names too? And I kind of get it. But I just feel like, we're kind of at a point where those terms have had their place, and now we're kind of moving on is the way that I would put it. I don't think it's as egregious as Redskins. I think Redskins was far more egregious than Indians. Agree. And there's more nuance with the discussion of Indians.
Will Braves be next?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're heading down that road. Where they're going to have to think about making a name change as well. I know some people have said Indians where INDY ends. I don't think they do that. But I think, clowns or ABCs would be the ones for me. So many people are like, well, call them the racers or not everything needs to be like racing and corn as much as I like those two things.
I totally agree on ABCs. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah. Think of the marketing, too, with ABCs. You could do all kinds of fun stuff with that.
The one issue with the clowns, if
they're horrific.
Well, the one issue that you might run into with clowns, if you change a team name, it's because you are trying to avoid any insinuation of impropriety. The Indianapolis Clowns, the Negro League team, towards the end of their era, the last decade or so, became kind of a vaudeville team. Kind of like the Globetrotters. Okay. But a lot of the players had different acts that they would do. Different, Bobo Smalls could throw 5 baseballs at one time. And, they had different.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So there was resentment among a lot of African-American players that they were like not taking baseball seriously enough, and that's why they were called the Clowns,
Gotcha.
etc. I would go with ABCs would be my first choice. At one point, I thought it'd be cool to call them either the Oscars or the Charlestons after him, but neither one of those really works. I did see, and I apologize, I can't remember who it was. You're going to laugh at me here, Derek. The poet emeritus for the state of Indiana is James Wickham Riley. His most famous character was Little Orphan Annie. Subject of a poem. His most famous poem was Little Orphan Annie. Little Orphan Annie would come to our house to stay, yada, yada. And I saw somebody say, no, that's Annie. No,
I remember that. Red-haired girl.
Similar. But not, I mean.
It's a hard knock life.
No, that's a
that
play.
became a Jay-Z song. So maybe have Jay-Z throughout the first pitch. That's a great
again,
idea.
James Wickham Riley, Little Orphan Annie was different. But I saw somebody say they should call them the Indy Annies. It kind of works. If you say it, it sounds like Indiana, right? But I would go with the Indianapolis Sailors. If I couldn't go with the ABCs.
For Sailors and Soldiers Monument?
And the USS Indianapolis.
Okay. Yeah, I'm cool with that. The runner-up and stuff like that for me, I've always liked Capitals and
that's cool.
Capital City. But, yeah, you could talk me into a lot of different
O or an A?
I think you'd have to go O, right?
I think that's right.
Because even though it's the Capitol with an A, Capitol Avenue is an O, and I think the football team was an O.
So the building is an O, but the city is an A, right?
Yes.
So you're naming it after buildings, or you're naming it after the city?
You're naming it after the building and Capitol Ave, which runs up through Midtown. So you're paying homage to Midtown as well.
So you're naming, then let's just be the Meridians, the Indianapolis Meridians.
No, Meridian's got enough.
The Kesslers.
Howard Kellman, straight down Meridian. That's enough. That's enough of the homage there. Yep. You've already got something if you're Meridian. Meridian Kessler, they've already got all the school priority zones for IPS and CFI.
What about the Allisonvilles?
So no, too far out. Too far out. That's barely Indianapolis anymore out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fall Creeks?
Same thing. You know how long it took us to go to work? It took like 40 minutes to get out there.
Fall Creek goes right to downtown.
All the way out there?
Okay.
Way out there.
All right.
Bite or bowl bleep time?
All right.
Let's do it. Are we breaking before?
No,
Sorry, I forgot to ask.
Just roll with it.
Didn't I
just
say
roll
this
with
is the last segment,
Yeah, just
right?
go with it. Go with
you
it.
Said,
just
you
go.
said
Just
like,
go.
all right,
No,
and then
Derek, just go.
You
just
hit
go.
the table like we're supposed to break.
No. I said, let's go.
All right, hold on.
Let's go
3,
with it.
2, 1.
What are you doing?
Time to transition now to Buy It or Bull Bleep.
Buy It or Bull Schultz. That's right.
Brought to you by our friends at the Shop Indy, theshopindy.com.
Including
brick and
this
mortar
fabulous
locations
Clowns shirt, which could be,
on the
again,
Strip in Broad Ripple.
current.
And Clay Terrace as well up in Carmel. You can see some of the shop offerings. Here's what we do with Buy It or Bull Bleep. I give a statement, Jake and I go back and forth whether we buy it or it's Bull Bleep. You ready to go, Jake?
Yep.
Statement 1, the Colts will have to forfeit a game at some point this season due to COVID violations. Buy it or Bull Bleep?
I say it's Bull Schultz. I mean, look, do they need to up their vaccination rate to make sure that doesn't happen? Maybe. I don't want to get into the whole vaccine debate again, but I think a lot would have to take place in order for them to forfeit a game.
I think
Bull Schultz.
Absolutely an NFL team at some point forfeits a game this year.
Okay.
I'm just not as sure that it's going to be. I mean, statistically speaking, Colts would have a better chance than you know what? I'm going to buy it.
Okay.
I don't want that to happen, but I am convinced that there is a team that this is going to happen to because they're going to be dug in on not getting, you know what I mean? There's going to be some kind of a breakout where they're on the road or something like that, and the NFL can't reschedule the game, and everybody gets fined, and they lose it.
Okay.
So I'll just say I'll buy it just because the Colts rate is still so low. It's hovering around 60% on the latest update. Team USA basketball will not win the gold medal in the Tokyo Olympics.
I buy that, and we didn't get into this a whole lot, but look, international play is just a different style of play. It's a different rule. It's a different lane.
It's officiated differently.
It's officiated differently. And they're playing against, for the most part, teams where the guys have played together for a decent amount of time and had cohesiveness. Are they going to get shut out of the medals? I don't know about that, but I will. No, you know what, Derek? I'm going to reverse course. They've had a couple wake-up calls here, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, they keep losing, if you want to call that a wake-up call.
I'm going to say they barely get into medal play, and then they put it together, and they win the gold.
I'm going to buy it. I think they do what the Athens team does. I think they finish with the bronze or something like that.
Okay.
I don't think they're the best team. I don't think that they're worse than the third best team. if that makes sense. I think they'll do enough to at least get on the freaking podium.
I would hope.
Yeah, because then that would be a huge disaster. Because the Athens team was a disaster, and they got bronze. And that's looked at as like one of the biggest follies in USA basketball history. Statement 3, Deshaun Watson is untradeable. Buy it or bull bleep.
Yeah,
Houston wants like 5 picks and 2 players.
Well,
if I'm a team, I'm looking at them like, you serious? You're lucky to get anything for him.
Until he's cleared.
Which he very likely won't be before the season starts.
Yeah. There's no way that you can, in good conscience, trade for him and tell your fan base, like, hey, we got a guy that we think is innocent of some sexual charges.
Like, I read an article where they were like, well, the team really wants to get this done, and Deshaun and his people want to get this done. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you need a third party there.
Right.
It can't just be, okay, the Texans want to move on and he wants to move on. You need somebody to be willing to give up real assets, because they're not going to sell him for 20 cents on the dollar, and even 80 cents on the dollar for Deshaun Watson, Jake, would be really hard for any team to stomach giving up, not even knowing if he's going to be available for you this year.
Right.
Even if he is cleared and eventually available, you got to wait a year. You can't do that in today's NFL. You can't punt a season.
I would think he's untradeable.
Right? So I'm going to buy it. Things could change, but I think as of right now, he's untradeable. How about this for an interesting scenario? Aaron Rodgers decides to retire. The Packers panic so close to training camp and just decide, hey, here you go. Here's Jordan Love.
Well, they have Jordan Love.
5
Would they
picks.
just go with Jordan Love?
What if you feel like they were just in the NFC Championship game. What if you feel like your window is right now?
Yeah, you're right.
But then again, you don't know that Deshaun Watson can play right now.
Can you imagine if you trade for him, Derek, and then he's convicted?
Oh, my God. Yeah, and then you're out all that.
Yeah.
The whole situation is just a total mess. Thanks to all of our sponsors, the Shop Indy, WGU Indiana. No, don't do the salute yet. We've got some things to mention here. You got me off my train of thought now because you did the salute thing. What was that? Love That Play and Love HVAC, our friends at Love Heating and Cooling. Chateau Kitchens, Bailey and Wood Financial Group. Speaking of the Indians,
WGU Indiana.
Our next remote is on the books.
Well, that's right.
August 10th, Victory Field.
What day of the week is that?
That is a
Monday?
Jordan, help me. Tuesday.
Okay.
So we'll be doing the
That'll be
show
fun.
from Victory Field. It'll be great. We'll have Indians guests there. Randy Lewandowski, your
I saw
buddy,
Randy.
and my friend too.
I saw Randy. We did our annual Friends of Robin Miller Indy Star Night at the Indians game last week, and I saw Randy there, and he said, hey, you guys are coming out.
Yeah,
So
he
it'd be cool.
texted me a couple days ago, which was cool.
Really?
Yeah.
What did he say? I saw Jake. It was cool.
He knew Susan Hardesty, Greg's wife, because she was sorority sisters and best friends with his wife. So
Okay.
Susan actually stood up in their wedding. And he read the Greg piece that I wrote for Indy Monthly and complimented it.
That's cool.
So, yeah, that's what that
Good
was
dude.
about. But we're excited about being out there. That'll be our first show at Victory Field in 2 years.
Yeah.
And we did that. We
A
did
lot.
like 6 shows a year for 9 seasons, basically,
we did a
out
lot.
there. So it'll be great to get back and see some familiar faces, and hope to see you there as well, August 10th. QuarryandSchultz.com is where you can get all the details on the show, everything that we're doing. Jake has a sandwich. I put it on the website right away.
does.
Also, you can follow us at Jake Query. Much better follow at Schultz975. Podcasts on all major platforms, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/QuarryandSchultz, and then, of course, right here, iscsportsnetwork.com. Thanks to Jake Morris, Jordan Shue, Greg Rakestraw. I don't know, thanks to you, I guess, too. We'll see you next week on Query and Schultz.
There we go. Now the salute.
Yeah,
right?
now.
Okay.
So dumb.
Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Your life is on the go. Now your viewing habits can be on the go. With the ISC Sports Network app, your team is at your fingertips. You can download years' worth of content from the ISC Sports Network library. High school, college, special events, weekly and monthly shows, wherever you find your favorite app. And you can always find out more information at iscsportsnetwork.com.